Hello. Today I am looking at two of the requests we've received on our requests forum. One request is to show an expert advisor that sets the stop loss based on a percentage risk of balance, and the other is for an explanation of how to calculate pips and points for risk-based either lot sizing or stop loss sizing. Now, before I go too much further, I'll say that pips are not a well-defined term. Pip is a colloquial term that originally referred to a point. That was in the days when prices were generally quoted to 4 decimals, and a point was the 4th decimal. Since then, with advances in technology and so on, prices have begun quoting to 5 decimals for currencies and to extended decimals for other types of products. And in that time, the definition of point has become a little less clear, and Metatrader actually defines a point through a number of functions inside Metatrader as being the last decimal place. So a point now on a US dollar trade, for example, would be the 5th decimal place. So pip, because it's not a well-defined term, sometimes is used to refer to that 4th decimal, sometimes to the 5th decimal. If you search the internet, you'll find all kinds of people giving different definitions of pips. Some even go as far as to come up with new terms like pipettes. Really, they're just creating terms for whatever they're using as a pip, and I tend to do the same. So I won't be discussing pips in detail today. In fact, I won't talk about them any further, other than to say now that as a rule of thumb, I consider that if the product I'm looking at is quoted to an even number of decimal places, then a pip and a point are the same. And if it's quoted to an odd number of decimal places, then a pip is 10 points. So for a Euro USD, which has a 5 decimal place quote, a pip would be the 4th decimal place. And so everything I talk about today will refer to points, because a point actually has functions inside Metatrader that relate to that last decimal place. And so because that actually has some hard definition that makes sense inside the code, points will be as Metatrader has defined them. So to begin, I have created an include file, this RiskCalc, underneath tutorials, which is under Orchard inside the include folder here. And I've already included this new bar function. I use that so often, I just throw that in by default whenever I'm creating one of these include files. And I'm using an include file here because it will make it easier to reuse the functions that I'm about to write. So I'm going to create here a number of functions that we will use to convert risk into stop loss points or stop loss size and lot sizing. Now first, I'm just going to create some simple functions that do very simple conversions from points to doubles and ticks to doubles and so on. Now, Metatrader actually defines the size of a tick, which you can get with this symbol info double, passing in the symbol and the argument symbol trade tick size. And that gives the size of the smallest price movement that Metatrader deals with for that symbol. So I have a function here, just double to ticks, and if you pass in the symbol and a double value, it will return the number of ticks that are in that size value. I'll be using this in functions later. The inverse of that is this ticks to double, which still takes the symbol string, and I'm passing in ticks as a double here, although typically it would be an integer, but it doesn't hurt to pass it as a double here. And then I simply convert those ticks into a double value using the same symbol info double, symbol, comma, symbol trade tick size, but in double to ticks, it's value divided by the tick size, and in ticks to double, it's ticks multiplied by the tick size. And then the other I have here is points to double, which will simply convert an integer number of points into a double price value. Still takes a symbol as an argument, integer points, and the return value is points multiplied by using symbol info double for the symbol and the symbol underscore point argument. This symbol underscore point will give you the size of a single point for that symbol. Now the next function I have here is equity percent, which simply takes a value, and that is the percent, although really it's not a percentage. It is, for example, 0.01 would be 1%. So this is the percentage converted to a double already. And it returns that percentage of the current account equity. So I get the current account equity with this account info double, passing in account underscore equity, and simply multiply that by the percentage or the fraction that's been passed in here. Now I know that the request I received was to deal with account balance, and if you really want to do that, then you can duplicate this equity percent and create a balance percent and pass in account_balance. But I typically use account equity because I feel that's a better value to use in terms of risk. And if you're not clear on that, the difference between balance and equity includes the value or profit and loss of any trades that are currently open, where balance only shows the account balance according to trades that have been closed, plus deposits, withdrawals, and so on. And now I have two functions that will take a percentage and return either the stop loss size or the lot size based on that percentage risk. But these will in turn call other functions, which we'll get to in a moment. So the first function, %SL size, given the risk percentage, this will return a value that is the size of the stop loss, and this is the size in actual price movement, it's not in points. So we need a symbol for this because it's a generic function. I'm not going to assume that you're using the chart symbol, so you can pass that in. Risk percent, which, as I said before, it's not really a percent. Comment here, risk percent is actually a decimal, so 1% would be 0.01. And the number of lots that you intend to trade. So to calculate risk, you need both the stop loss and the number of lots. So if you're trying to calculate stop loss, you must have already decided on number of lots. The two will balance each other out. So for the %SL size, you need to know how many lots you're already going to trade, and then it returns this function. This is one of the functions we'll get to in a moment. RiskSL size, using the symbol, getting the equity percent for that risk percentage, and the number of lots. So the purpose of this %SL size function is really to get the equity percent, and then it calls this RiskSL size, which is where most of the work happens. Just like this %RiskLots function, this takes the symbol, the risk percent, which is again a decimal rather than a percentage, and the stop loss size, so this is the price movement that you're risking. So you would use %SL size in the case where you're using a fixed lot size, and you would use %RiskLots in the case where you're using a fixed stop loss amount. And then this also calls another function, RiskLots, passing the symbol, equity percent, so that we get the value that we're putting at risk, and the stop loss size that's been passed in here. Now let me mention, because I forgot to mention it earlier, this equity percent, or the account info double account equity, returns an amount in your base currency for your account. So this is your deposit currency, not the currency that you're actually trading at the moment. And that will be important for the rest of the calculations. So if I have a US dollar account, this will return my account equity in US dollars, even if I might be trading Euro Yen. So now let's look at this RiskLots function first. The arguments, the symbol, obviously, because we need to have the ability to convert prices based on symbol, the amount that we're putting at risk, and the stop loss size, so how far we're letting the price move, and that's how much we want to put at risk. I need the number of ticks that are in this stop loss movement, so I'm declaring a double ticks, and that uses the double two ticks, passing in the symbol and the stop loss size. That's the function that we declared above. I need to know the value of a single tick, and that comes from symbol info double, passing in the symbol, and symbol trade tick value. So that is the value in your account deposit currency of a one tick movement of this symbol. And it's worth mentioning that that value is only true for the current prices of the symbol and whatever conversions there are to get to your account-based currency. Over time, this value will change simply because the exchange rates between symbol and your base currency change. Now that means I can calculate the risk for a single lot, so I'm declaring lot risk. And the risk for a single lot then is simply the number of ticks that we're putting at risk through here, multiplied by the value of each tick. So if I were trading a full lot, then if I hit the stop loss, I would have moved by this number of ticks, and each tick is worth this value, and that gives me my lot risk. And remember, I mentioned that this tick value is only valid for the current prices, so by the time you actually reach that stop loss, this formula is likely to return a different value, but all we can do in terms of setting the lot size is calculate that at the point where we open the trade. And then to determine risk lots equals the risk amount, so the amount that you want to put at risk, divided by the risk for a single lot. So risk amount divided by lot risk. Now this will return a double value, which may be a decimal that is an invalid lot size. So I'll leave it up to you to convert the return value from this to a valid lot size for the symbol you're trading, but this will simply return a double value, which is the number of lots that can be traded, which could be a decimal with many decimal places. And then I simply return risk lots. And now if we look at this RiskSL size function, it's very similar, but there are a small number of very important differences. So the arguments are similar, symbol and the risk amount, but in this case we're passing in the number of lots that we're going to trade. Tick value, that's exactly the same function as here. So I'm simply getting symbol info double trade tick value. I need to know the value in your deposit currency of a single tick movement. So this risk amount is already in your account deposit currency, and this tick value will be in your deposit currency. Now the number of ticks in this case though is determined by the lots that you're trading. So I have the risk amount, which is passed in here, divided by the number of lots multiplied by the tick value. And that gives me the total number of ticks that I'm going to put at risk. And then I just need to convert that ticks back to the stop loss double amount, and that's where I use the ticks to double function from above, passing in the symbol and the number of ticks, and that gives me the size of the stop loss. And then I simply return that stop loss size. And all the comments about these values being accurate only for the current set of exchange rates are still true. This will be correct right now as you place the trade, but by the time you reach that stop loss, or maybe you're using this to calculate a take profit, I don't know, then these rates will be different. So the best we can do is to approximate based on where the prices are now when we open the trade. Now to show those functions in use, I've used my default moving average cross expert advisor. It always comes up with slight modifications. So this is a standard test bed type expert advisor. It simply trades every time a slow moving average crosses a fast moving average. It has nothing to prevent multiple trades happening. It's not a good example of an expert advisor. I'm only trying to demonstrate how to use the risk calculations. I've written this for both Metatrader 4 and Metatrader 5, so you'll find both of those on GitHub. Close that navigator to create more space. I'm including that Orchard Tutorials RiskCalc, so that has all the functions that I need in there. And this is the MA Cross RiskSL, so this particular expert advisor calculates the stop loss based on a risk. So here is the risk that I'm entering. I want to risk 0.01 of my account equity, 1%. And I want to trade a fixed lot size of 0.01 here. All the rest of this is just standard for the expert advisor. If you want to see how this works, then I've used this expert advisor in the past, and there's a description of it in more detail in an earlier video. I'll leave a link in the description to the earlier video. But when we get down to the on tick, which is where we're going to be performing our processing, I make a call to trade open for order type buy or trade open for order type sell, depending if the fast has moved above the slow or below the slow. And in trade open then is where I'm doing the work for the stop loss sizing. So I'm simply declaring a double for price, stop loss price, take profit price. And then I'm calculating the size of the stop loss. The size of the stop loss, I'm using the %SL size function. And in this case, I'm passing in the chart symbol, the risk that I've input, which is 0.01, and the lot size, which is also 0.01. So I pass those into this %SL size function, and that gives me the size in decimal of the stop loss that I want to have on this trade. I'm capturing digits here, which is just the digits function. I'm capturing it simply because I use it several times and I don't want to keep calling the function. And then if the type is an order type by, price is normalized double using symbol info double, symbol and symbol ask, and normalizing it with digits. The stop loss price then is price minus stop loss size, again normalized double digits, and the take profit price is normalized double price plus stop loss size. I'm just using a one-to-one take profit stop loss, and this expert advisor has no exit for trades other than to hit the stop loss or the take profit. If it's not an order type buy, must be a sell. This is just the opposite then. Price is the bid price, symbol underscore bid, and then the stop loss is price plus SL size, or take profit is price minus SL size. And then I just open that position. So that's using the percent SL size to calculate the stop loss size for a trade given a fixed risk and a fixed lot size. Now, if I didn't want to use a percent of my equity as the stop loss, if I wanted to use a fixed amount, then I can always call the RiskSL size function, which takes that risk amount. But typically people will be trading based on a percent of their account size. If I put the Metatrader 4 and the Metatrader 5 side by side, apart from other sections of the expert advisor that are different between Metatrader 4 and 5, these calculations, double SL size, is identical in Metatrader 4 and 5. So I'm doing exactly the same thing in terms of price, stop loss, take profit, and that call to percent SL size. So those functions that I wrote are identical for Metatrader 4 and 5. Now I've also done the same thing if you want to have a fixed stop loss and then calculate the lot size. So here I've got MA cross risk lots for Metatrader 5 and for Metatrader 4. The inputs then, I've made a small change here. I now have input SL points, so that's my 300 point stop loss that I'm allowing. I still have a risk as 0.01, which is 1%, but I've removed the fixed lot size here. As well as having the input SL points, I have this double SL size that I've declared, and I do a one-time calculation here. SL size equals points to double using the chart symbol and the input SL points. So input SL points is an integer, 300 points. I'm going to convert that to a double, which would be 0.03, for example, once I've converted that. So that gives me an SL size in price movement, not in points. And then in trade open for the risk lots, instead of calculating the stop loss, I've got a fixed stop loss, so I've included this line, double lots, which is going to be my lot size for the trade, equals percent risk lots, using the chart symbol, my risk input 0.01, and the stop loss size. So down here in trade open, I'm passing that stop loss size into percent risk lots, and that just gives me the lot size. Here in the stop loss and take profit calculations then, because I have stop loss size calculated as a fixed value, I'm just using minus stop loss size and plus stop loss size. And then I use the lots, and I'll expand that to full screen. In the trade position open now, I'm using lots instead of the input lots. Now the expert advisors are nice, but just to create something that's a little bit more immediate, I've also written these scripts, RiskSL, MQ4, MQ5, and MQH. I've written it this way because all the code for testing this is common, so I've put all of the working code in the RiskSL.MQH, and then I have this RiskSL.MQ4, property strict, script show inputs, and then I call or include RiskSL.MQH. And the same for MQ5, include RiskSL.MQH, and then this RiskSL.MQH is where we do the work. And it's very simple. I've got inputs of lots, stop loss points, and risk here. I've included that Orchard Tutorials RiskCalc. And then I perform two sets of calculations. One where I'm calculating the stop loss size based on these inputs. So I call percent SL size, symbol, input risk, and the input lots. And then I print the result of that calculation. And then I do the same thing here for percent risk lots, where I'm passing in the symbol, the input risk, and the points to double of the symbol and the input SL points. And again, I print the results from that. So a very simple script. If I just compile this, I'm running in Metatrader 5 here at the moment, so I'll compile the MQ5 version. And then I can go to Metatrader 5 and run the script, and you'll see the results. Right, in Metatrader 5, this is actually a new demo account. I've got a $10,000 US balance. I'm going to trade this on, let me change my symbol so it's something that doesn't use US dollars. So I've changed the symbol to AUDJPY, and my account is in US dollars. So if I go to the experts tab, let me shrink that up a little bit so we can get more space in there. Run RiskCalc. Here are the inputs, lot size. I'm using a single lot for the calculation and 200 points stop loss and risking 0.01 of my account equity. If I say OK, lots based on the risk for AUDJPY with an equity of 10,000 and risk of 0.01. Stop loss of 0.2 is 0.594. So that's the number of lots that I can trade. Now obviously I can't trade 0.594375, so you would need to take care of rounding this or taking the floor or the ceiling value of that to match the lot size. And then the stop loss calculation, if I'm using a lot size of 1, then my stop loss is 0.118875 away from the current price, whether it's up or down. Let me make a trade so that I can change my equity. All right, I've just placed a trade GBP USD, so it's changed my equity and it's not 10,000. If I go back now, I'll leave these statements in the experts, go to my AUDJPY, drag the RiskCalc onto that, leave these values the same, and now because I have a smaller equity, you can see with equity of 9962 now, I'm getting a different stop loss value and a different lot size, although with rounding they're very close to the same. I haven't made much of a difference to the equity here. Let me just run the same thing on the GBP USD. And the equities move slightly in that time, but you can see that I'm getting different lot size calculations and different stop loss because this is a different currency. So I hope that answers the two questions we've received in the forum. This is about calculating the stop loss size and the risk lots, or the risk lots. You can either pass in a risk amount to these risk functions, or you can pass in a percentage to the percent functions. If you really want to base this on account balance instead of equity, then you can make a call to a balance percent, I suppose, instead of an equity percent function. You can just duplicate this using account balance. So I hope this has been useful to you. If it has, then click the like button, and if you want to see more of our videos, click subscribe and then click the bell icon to be notified when we release new videos. Thank you for watching.